So we have just wrapped up this 3 days retreat with your entire team. So Pat, do you want to start by sharing a bit of like how was the 3 days experience for you? What else have you heard from the team and so on?
So I think this was really good. Initially, when we planned this, right, Sumit, typically I have this habit that I was expecting that we'll have so much activity and we'll do so many things and we'll get so many outcomes. And when you said we'll take it slow, on day one we'll only do these 2-3 things, I was like, oh, people will not get energized. I was very apprehensive about what kind of outcomes would happen. And even day one end went like that for me. I think I also shared with you, right?
Yeah.
Isn't this a little too slow in a way? So it's like this, right? It was like you saying, I think day one we ended on a lot of energetic discussions, but overall the feeling was that not much is happening. And for me, that kind of created some apprehensions. Are we going to get any ROI, so to say?
Yeah, so day one was almost completely in silence,
A
meditating.
lot of it is in silence, very focused conversations, a lot of meditation. Day two, for me personally, I think started on a very big high. When you asked us those questions, which you asked us to share some dreams, and for me that was, I think, the first time that I was able to express. And I think for me the journey started right there, that when I was able to actually think through, get into that zone where I was being as honest as I could and being really honest to that effect, where I was able to express what are those dreams for Tekdi, how did they come about and all of that. I think that's when that started, and I was in that zone completely. And I think that has been a grounding moment for me in a lot of ups and downs that has happened even post the retreat. And I think that is amazing. For me, day two, I think when you coached me, right, in front of everyone, I wasn't really expecting what came out there. But eventually you asked me is that you are 15 years out, 20 years out, and you are talking about Tekdi. You are a employee of Tekdi and you are talking about what is Tekdi. And that is when I think that Tekdi is impact came out. That Tekdi has affected everything around in a positive way came out. And I think that was a wonderful expression. And again, I think that also resonated with a lot of people in the sense that I had never expressed this to them either. So I think that itself was something that really connected us all. For me, it started that now there was a common thing to gather about. There is a vision, there is something that all of us are now working towards. And that I think came very much from the heart. It was hard in a lot of ways. I was myself very overwhelmed with what came out. Overwhelmed maybe is not the right word, but I was definitely very emotional about it. And that I think really resonated well. And later I think a very different direction to the whole thing took place. Again, I don't remember a lot of the activities anymore, but we did the body shifting exercises and a lot of those things. But I think the team connected on a whole new level. People were also, because I was expressing honestly and genuinely, I think people were also inspired to also do the same. And we started getting more real on a lot of things. And that's always very important. So I think building those relationships, getting real with each other, really coming together, I think that kind of a bonding that happened over the next 2 days was really amazing. The best part is I'm still seeing people start using the different verbs or different expressions on emails. I feel we came back really energized and also came back with a vision, came back with clarity on what we want to do together. And really looking forward to build on that and take this forward.
Yeah. And I think what you're sharing, right? When I coached you, a lot of people mentioned that they could feel it in their body, right? They could feel a vibration, right? The impact. And I think what we did on day one set the stage or kind of set the ground. Even day two, I think we started with a walking meditation. We should remember that, right? So that kind of set the stage for that deeper experience of feeling something, right? Not just being in the rush or being in the emotions, but actually feeling something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where I saw the value of silence. I saw the value of slowing down. You had talked about it, slowing down to speed up. But I think that experiencing it was very different. And probably what we did in those 2 days, I've been trying to do for the last year or 6 months. Trying to articulate the vision, trying to articulate the purpose, trying to get people together on the values and all of that. But what we were able to achieve in those 2 days, I think that was a year worth of work for me.
Yeah.
For getting those people together on that level.
Yeah. How was it on an emotional level, right? Because the third day was actually quite emotional. There was still more of meditation, but it was quite emotional for a lot of people. So can you share how was it for you or anything that you have heard from anybody else?
The third day for me, I think the highlight of the third day, and also I think that's what helped us end on high, was the acknowledgement and appreciation that we did with people. I think that for me that worked in a lot of different ways. So one, when we did it initially, and I think so usually, at least for me, it's hard for me to celebrate myself or appreciate myself. Always feel okay, why do I even need that? The purpose or the goal is enough for me to keep myself motivated. That's what I used to always feel. But then when I wrote it down, I think that's when I started really feeling okay, there's things beyond what I stand for. And I think someone just saying about that to me will help me, will make me feel good. So I think that was the early realization when we started noting down our own things that we want to be appreciated for. And then I think when we went in pairs and talked to people, I think that was an emotional high. I think almost everybody cried when we were appreciating the other. So I think at that point of time, I mean, on one end, people had come out with what they want to be appreciated for. But then what ended up happening is that a group appreciated the other person for things that they had not even imagined they've been doing, or other people really feeling for it. So I think that was a high. So for me, I had written down a few things, but then I was completely amazed, surprised, or even touched by what people said about me. And then I also saw the same with other people when I was talking to them. So I think that was amazing. I think that also brought the team closer together with the first day of silence. So I think again, also to add to what Parth said, I think the first day went slow. And at the end of the day, I think we're also feeling okay. Are we going to go deep in a topic at all around that? But then I think in hindsight, I think that was important because everybody is used to be in a rush, get things done. But then the first day really helped us slow down, be in a mode where we are a little more open, a little more accepting to what is going to happen in the next 2 days. So I almost feel that I think if you would have probably rushed to the second day, it might not have been as effective as having meditation and silence on the first day. So that helped everybody slow down, get a lot more receptive. So I think that was definitely amazing. And I would like to talk about, just moving forward, I think another highlight. So I think on the first day or on the second day, I think we spoke about the questions. What is a powerful question to ask? You also talked about, Sumit, your results are the questions you asked. So that stuck me. And in fact, since we've come back in the past 2 days, that's what I've been really thinking about. Whenever somebody comes to me with a challenge that they're facing or something that they are struggling with, I think that's been my kind of go-to. How do I help them ask the question to themselves? In fact, just one small story I would like to say. I think this Monday, or I think a couple of days back, I was talking to one of our technical team members, and she was struggling with something. She was integrating some tool with some website, and then she was kind of all over the place asking a lot of questions. And then I knew it's a simple question, I knew it's a simple answer, but I wanted her to ask herself questions and get the answer. So I think for me, it was hard to really not give the answer because that's what I'm used to. And I think I kept on thinking, what is the question that I was trying to have her ask the question to herself so that she can get an answer. And then I think eventually yesterday or the day before, I was able to actually help her. And then she was actually able to ask her a question. She asked herself the right question, and then she just figured out what she needs to kind of, so she was probably jumbling up too many different thought processes, and she was able to then figure out, okay, these are 2 different problems or 3 different problems, and then she has to just ask one question for each problem, and then she had the answer. So I think that was, for me, that was a nice, I think the process for me and for her also was good. So I think that's definitely something that that stuck with me, and it happened a couple of times. So for me, I think this was one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah. I think we talked about this part in the evenings, right? While we were having the casual conversations. And I think that's one thing with retreats or overnight stays, that sometimes you can get a lot done without a formal session in place, right? So, and that's a wonderful example that you're sharing. Even with the acknowledgements, right? What you shared earlier, being emotional. I don't know if you noticed or not, but it was emotional for me also to see all of you like suddenly hugging each other, laughing, crying together. It was very emotional, very gratifying. But very emotional for me also to witness what happened at the end. Yeah.
So thanks, Ashwin, for reminding. That was the most powerful part of the session, in fact. And just for me, I think even when you gave us that question, write down 4 things to appreciate yourself, I was like so stumped. I literally was not able to write anything for almost, I was there for 45 minutes or something. Not I managed to write one line item, whatever I thought. And I was like, let me just write it for few people, and that's much easier for me. Write it for yourself is very hard. And like Ashwin said, he never really realized what people might be thankful for, what people might be appreciating. So it was wonderful. In fact, it came so naturally that when we appreciated to that level, when we got appreciated to that level, we were hugging each other. And so many people were like, we have never hugged, which is anyways not very natural for me. But still, we know these people for 10, 12 years. It's not somebody who joined us yesterday. But just being able to connect on that level, that something like that happens naturally, really connecting on that level, I think people really were able to let their hearts out, connect on a very different level. Like you said, it got very emotional. And I think you really started really well as to how to appreciate that, how you showed it, right? It was a full body kind of acknowledgement, right? And that really set the tone, because I'm sure people had a hard time. I had a hard time. How do you really acknowledge it? Right? Because if you say a very dry, even if it's heartfelt and you're not able to express it correctly, it's not going to land correctly. So a dry, well done doesn't work, right? So it was really well done. And thank you for that. So thank you for teaching us how to appreciate in a full way.
Absolutely, right? And I think the same thing which you are sharing is difficult to talk about or difficult to share is the same energy that you experienced at the end of it. It's the same energy which is always there, but if you hide it, it can cause some damage, or it normally causes some disempowerment. But if you bring it out, it can just create that level of joy, laughter, and that positive energy. Yeah. And another thing that we did was, right, working on the I am statements. So this is also starting from day one and then culminating in day 3. Do you have any experiences of something new coming out of that, or somebody sharing something interesting out of that?
So actually, I haven't had a chance to interact much with the team after, because I've been traveling quite a bit. But I've seen a change in a lot of people's attitudes in how they are taking on things. People who we already knew were powerful, but were maybe the wrong I am statements. They had created stories about themselves that were not working for them. I think I see some subtle differences in how they are approaching it. Really calling out things. So I won't take names, but there was this situation where this person was deeply caring about the project they were working on, and they saw that there was a problem which normally they would have been very hard for them to actually talk about it. They directly reached out. I think this was probably 2 days after our workshop, and they're like, I see this is a problem, and what can we do about it? And this was a people problem, so it would have been hard for them to do it. And normally they would have just complained about it, but they came up with a way to solve it. Subtle differences I'm seeing as I interact more. I think, as I said, some behavioral changes that we are seeing is how people are committing, how they are actually going more. We can actually recognize that.
I think there's also a lot more appreciation flowing freely on the various channels. Yeah, so I think
that's always wonderful. Perfect. Yeah, thank you for sharing this.
Absolutely. And I'll just say that we have come back with an extremely empowered team that has clarity on what it wants to do. They are committed to working together and working on themselves, working on the organization, and taking themselves to the next level, and as a result, the organization to the next level. Wonderful, really. Thank you so much, Sumit.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I think I have shared this with you before also, but you have a wonderful team. You have a wonderful team.